Cool. Okay, let's just start. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Vanesa Ortiz. I'm Sourcegraph's community advocate. Welcome to our web series on developer tools. I'd love to introduce you to our host and Sourcegraph CTO, Beyang Liu. And we'll be interviewing Thorsten Ball today, who's also one of our engineers. And he'll be telling you about his developer setup and which tools make his everyday life a breeze. So go ahead.
All right, Thorsten. I guess we should start with your hardware setup. I understand that you have a photograph of some sort.
Yes. You said it like it's super uncommon, but yes. All right, this is the photograph. So yeah, short version. It's a standing desk.
Okay, yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now you put it on screen. Okay. Yeah, it's a standing desk, good chair, which is it was an expensive chair, but if somebody thinks about whether they should buy an expensive chair or not, they should. It's invaluable. Then the MacBook Pro on the left, which I mainly use, as you can see, I guess, for viewing the calendar and the to-do list. Then my main screen, an HP 4K monitor, full screen terminal there. Then microphone setup. It's a Shure going into an USB audio interface. The headphones, which are the Bose noise canceling headphones, are hooked up directly in the audio interface. Keyboard, mechanical keyboard, Cherry MX Brown switches, and the mouse is a gaming mouse that I bought on a whim because it was, I don't know, reduced price or something on Amazon, $40. And if you are on the fence and you think I need a new mouse, but I'm not sure which one to get one of these. Like it's incredible how much it changes the feel of how you use the mouse. So
that's awesome. What size monitor, Thorsten?
This is 27 inches.
Nice.
Yeah. And I'm running this on the, I don't think it's the native 4K resolution. It's the scaled thing, the 1.5 or something. So it looks like, I think, 1440p or something, but it's really good.
So I noticed you got both the laptop and the desktop there. Is the 4K monitor running Linux?
No. The desktop is my mid-pandemic lockdown crisis gaming computer purchase.
Got it.
So I have Linux on it and Windows, and it's pretty overpowered for what I do with it, but it's really good. And honestly, I'm thinking now that we're all at home all the time, you don't notice the difference between a desktop computer and a laptop, and it's nice that the fans of this don't spin up as they do with the MacBook. It's really nice.
So whether it's like work or play, everything happens, right? What percentage of like the hours of your life over the past year you feel have been spent at this table?
Honestly, I'm embarrassed to say, but I guess it's like at least 12 hours a day.
Wow.
Right? Like I get up, then I do my own programming in the morning, then I, go for a walk and work out or something, and then work, of course. And then now with the gaming computer, I sometimes sit down for an hour in the evening and play, a game for an hour or something.
Nice.
And again, like the chair, like don't have any back pain or anything. I still feel super comfortable in this chair. So
what chair do you have?
Steelcase Gesture.
Steelcase Gesture. Okay.
Yeah.
We should
very good.
We should put up some links after this for folks who might want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. I think that
should we move?
Yeah. Let's get to
look under the hood. Let's look under a hood and see what you use then for developer tools.
All right. So I should preface this by saying I'm not going to show you the whole screen, but I mainly use two applications, the browser and the terminal. The browser is Google Chrome at the moment. I used Firefox last year. I have 3 pinned tabs in Chrome, which is my personal email, my other personal email, work email, and the rest of the tabs I close at the end of the day because I'm a good person. And The other application I use all the time is the terminal. Full screen in Kitty or in iTerm, you can set a checkbox on macOS that says non-native full screen, which makes it actual full screen, so you don't see all the other windows next to it, and you don't have animations. And let me show you what it looks like from the inside. So this is, can you see this? Now you should be able
Good
to
on my
see
side.
it. All right, cool. So this is, what you're looking at here is the Kitty terminal emulator, which is, the bars. Inside is tmux, which is the thing that wraps all of this. And at the bottom, this is, it tells you which tmux window you have open. If I spawn a bunch, you will see that the list at the bottom grows. If I close them, it shrinks.
Sorry, I'm going to change the view here so you can actually see the bottom. I think before our
okay. Now?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So yeah, I do everything here in a shell, C shell, which is talked about Beyang and I before this. And my main editor, of course, is Vim or Neovim.
Vim.
Yes. Not Emacs, not VS Code.
And
thanks to, in parts to TJ's work, I'm now back full-time in Vim and Neovim because I'm using the new built-in LSP support in Neovim. My Vim RC is pretty long. I'm heavily invested in Vim. And I started using VS Code for things like Rust or TypeScript because the Rust Analyzer, which is the Rust LSP, or the TypeScript LSP integration in VS Code was just better. But with the built-in LSP stuff, it's really snappy. So let me show you what a typical session looks like. This here is, basically what work 2 hours earlier looked like. Here on the left, I have Vim open with 2 files. Usually the font size is smaller, so you would see more. And then on the right, you have, I run my test commands or the go build command or something. And then here at the bottom, this is just, a campaign spec that I use to run. I often spawn additional files to look at logs, or I spawn a file down here to go in a different directory and look at things. And yeah, Then Noah just asked in the chat why tmux and Kitty, given Kitty has both Windows and in-window panels. And the question is, why don't I use this, which just opened a new Kitty window? So at the bottom, you will see tmux disappeared. And instead, I have a new Kitty window. So Kitty also has window management built in. And the reason is that I've used tmux longer than I knew about Kitty. And I'm just so used to all the keyboard shortcuts. And I don't want to switch. And the other thing, and I might be wrong here, is that it's easier to program how you spawn and close and use tmux windows. So for example, I have a shortcut that opens, a smallish window at the side here, which is like 20% of the screen. You can bind this to your own shortcuts, right? Like somewhere there's bind key.
This is all tmux config.
This is all the tmux config, yeah. Here. So bind T opens a small test window at the bottom. Bind capital T opens it on the right. If you open this, for example, and you say let's say you open a Ruby session down here, and you open a Ruby file up here, and you say puts foobar, and then you select this. You can use this and use the third window and say pane 2. And then you can automatically send stuff down to the window. Right?
So you just
Thorsten, later we gotta do. I'll show you how you can send stuff to Neovim's built-in terminal, and you'll like it quite a bit as well. But yeah, so I think the other thing too for tmux is it has session management, which Kitty doesn't.
Yes.
Like I also use Kitty, but it doesn't try and be that part of tmux, I think.
Exactly. And what you're saying, TJ, is a really good point. Like, why don't I use the built-in terminal in Neovim? right? Which is this. And now this is a terminal inside Neovim, and I have my Vim key bindings and all of that stuff. And I can open other, Vim windows here. And the reason why I don't use it or haven't used it is I like my editors inside the terminal and not the other way around, because the other way around is kind of the Emacs way of things, and I'm not used to it.
That's true. I'm really glad to see that the Vim world has finally caught up with Emacs in this respect.
Not only that, Bram even removed the part in the help about terminals never get included.
Wow, that's progress.
Quite funny.
Uh-oh. Thorsten looks frozen.
He's just shocked about the Emacs situation.
He does look frozen on my end too.
Yeah, okay, let me chat.
Perfectly proven, but...
Oh, there he's back. Oh. At least audio-wise.
Oh, hey.
You were gone for a second.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
All right. Let's hope my connection keeps stable. So I was saying I don't use the iTerm tmux support because Kitty is faster than iTerm in rendering things and opening windows and stuff like that. I don't know if this is actually like if it's proven, but the Kitty rendering is really, really fast.
What about iTerm 2? Do you ever check that out?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I used this for a long time. Yeah, but then there's Alacrity, I think, is the other GPU accelerated terminal emulator. And then there's Kitty, which is funny, right? In 2022, we need GPU accelerated terminal emulators to read TTY characters to draw text, interfaces on a pane, I guess. But yeah, there we are. The other thing I want to mention is I like having my editor inside the terminal and not the other way around. Is one thing that I use a lot in the terminal is FZF, which is this fuzzy finder. Right? And if I use Vim, for example, and TJ is going to say something to this, but if I want to fuzzy find a file, I hit a key and it opens the fuzzy finder here in this little Neovim pop-up, and I can, fuzzy find stuff. But the cool thing is I'm now in my shell. I just quit Vim, right? :Q for all the new viewers. I want to do this. I want to cat a file, right? Usually you would do like this tab completion, whatever, because we're on the shell and fuzzy finding is only for editors and web tools, whatever. With FZF, I have bound Control-T to do this for me. I just type the command that I want to run, Control-T, and it opens fuzzy finding, and then I can say, this, and it puts the file name in this command, which is really powerful. I think you can do this in Emacs.
Awesome.
And now if I type, cat, I can see this file. The other thing, by the way, this is not cat. Cat is alias to bat, which is a more fancy version of cat that has colors.
Cat with wings.
Cat with wings, exactly. The other thing I use FZF for a lot is in Bash, for example, when you want to search a command, you just execute it, right? You can hit Control-R, and then you just type in the beginning like, or a snippet of the command. Yeah, exactly. And I think then if you hit it twice, you go back up and you can cycle through those commands. In my C# configuration, I have bound Control-R to fuzzy find through my command history, right? So I can, go build this and type in go build and find this really long command that I executed, I don't know, 2 or 3 days ago.
What does
really powerful.
What does a config look like to get your Z shell to do that?
I think it's, let's see. I think it's just importing. Yeah, there you go. You just check where it's installed, and this is, Craft, I guess, that I carried over from multiple setups, and then you just source key bindings and completion. You basically install FZF, and then you source these files, and in Vim you just include the plugin.
Wow, that's cool.
And it uses ripgrep under the hood. And
Nice.
for all of those that don't know, ripgrep is the faster version of grep. So grep is, I don't know. Yeah, this. And ripgrep is this. And it does really fast searching over a lot of files. And it under the hood, ripgrep has a mode where it says, I think it's only lists or something. Sure. Type list. It just lists files, and it is a really fast way to get the list of files in the current
I think -L.
Then,
yeah, RG-L.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah. Oh.
Or give it like a query.
Oh yeah. And this is what FZF uses under the hood to get the list of files and search stuff.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And cool. The other thing I want to mention, which I also use often, is this command here, just one character, which is Z or Z. I'm not sure what spelling the audience prefers here, or how I should pronounce this. But it's called auto jumping, and it remembers the list of directories that you are in the most. So if I type in this character Z or Z, and then, for example, SOU, it jumps to the Sourcegraph repository wherever I am. Like if I go to documents, type in this, it jumps back to source CLI. Because if I want to go to something with CLI in its name, chances are high it's source CLI.
Yeah.
And that is, I don't use this, a lot, as in to explore stuff on the file system, but this up here, like jump to the Sourcegraph repository, I do a lot. It's basically like jumping back to the home directory, but in really short.
Yeah, that's really cool. And you mentioned there's like a bash version of that too.
I think it's called auto jump or
auto jump, and then it just uses J instead, I think.
J, yeah. And then
this is.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to say this is really awesome, but we're starting to run out of time. Could we now talk about cool dev tools that you use at Sourcegraph?
Yes. How do I share this? So, I mean, this is what I use 90% of my time.
Can you show? Earlier, you were showing me some of the like LSP support in Neovim, and that was super cool.
Yeah, so, TJ worked on this. He's a Neovim core contributor. So Neovim now includes LSP support. That means I'm now in a Go file, and I don't have any other plugin than the built-in Neovim stuff. And I, for example, say I write a little function, takes in two numbers and returns a number. It says A plus B. Right? All of this stuff that just popped up, the red stuff, this is built in LSP support, and it's instant, and it's so fast. I'm not sure if you can see this on the stream because it's latency from me to wherever in the world you are. But if I now delete until the last parentheses here, it just appears and disappears immediately. I'm getting addicted to this the longer I work on this, because it's another form of feedback. It's better than just running tests. And down here at the bottom, there's like a small X and a 1, which means, there's one error in this file, and I can jump to those from wherever I am in the file.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that has been a source of joy in the past 2 weeks, honestly. Like, it was just a ton of fun. And then
Thorsten also gets to cheat because he keeps just telling me things he wants to have happen in there.
That's true.
And then I send him a message with a new feature.
Yes. I'm not trying to guilt trip him into building this stuff, but it's more like, hey man, like this would be cool. And then suddenly the stuff shows up. So quite happy about this outcome. And then, not sure, like this here is Sourcegraph on the left. This is Sourcegraph running on my machine, how I'm developing it. I have a dedicated tmux window for Sourcegraph. I do everything in shell. I, of course, I have two, let me maybe show you by sharing something else. Let me show you this. Let me show you the whole screen. All right, can you see the whole screen?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So sourcegraph.com, I can, search in the code here. But since we have, as you see here, we have a kind of a mono repo. So a lot of our stuff happens in Sourcegraph. And we have, repo groups for this. So it's easy to search in Sourcegraph. We have the recent files that I was in Sourcegraph. But I also use Alfred a lot, which is this thing that just popped up, which, is like a Spotlight, but older than Spotlight, and it's a bit faster. And I use this for, spell checks and dictionary and whatever. But I also use it to search Sourcegraph, and I have like this shortcut here, which searches Sourcegraph for,
Oh, that's cool.
Any query that I put in, it opens it in my browser, and then it just searches Sourcegraph, and I have source, which searches in Sourcegraph for. Exactly. And I use that quite a lot to just open stuff in the browser. And
nice.
then, all the other, our Sourcegraph workflow is pretty Git based. We have GitHub, so we use a lot of that. I use the GitHub source, the GitHub CLI to open and create PRs and view them. But otherwise, like this is basically it. I use Sourcegraph to search stuff in Sourcegraph. I use GitHub, and the rest is in Slack and the terminal, I guess, and some helpers here and there in Alfred.
Nice.
Nice.
Why?
Mentioned that you. Oh, sorry. You mentioned that you asked TJ about new features that you're wanting to see, or I guess my question would be, which developer tools are you looking forward to see in the future?
Good question. So oddly enough, the thing that I want most is what I just earlier said I don't like, which is that everything happens inside the editor. So, but what I mean by this is that I basically want my whole computing environment to be programmable. So if you do, like, if Keegan was here, he could say this, or even you, Beyang, right, with Emacs, like people who use Emacs for everything, they do this because now everything is in Emacs, and they can search through everything. They can hook into everything. They can customize everything. TJ has this going on with Neovim, I think, right? But I want this for my whole computer. I want to be able to say, if I copy a URL in while I have a GitHub issue page open, please take that URL, convert the URL into Markdown format, and then put it in my clipboard so I can paste it as Markdown somewhere else. And you can get there by building your own browser extensions, by building Apple script stuff, or on Linux other scripts, GNOME shell extensions, whatever. But it's just not as smooth as if you had everything integrated into one. So if I could snap my fingers, I would make it so that everything I have is programmable, and I can hook everything into everything else.
Thorsten, I think one question some people might have is like, why not use an IDE? Like, why do you like using tmux plus Vim so much? Like, you could have a lot of things that you want with an integrated development environment where like everything is kind of in the same pane.
Yeah.
And there are like great editors out there, or IDEs out there for Go. Things like Golang and VS Code support for Go is pretty good. Like, why not use one of those things?
Yeah. So 10 years ago, I would have said because it's not as cool as using Vim on a terminal, and I still stand by that in a way. I there's a factor to it where I just think it's cool to use the terminal full screen. But the other reason why I was just never interested in IDEs was because they're generally slow, or slower, right? To boot up. Now with LSPs, that's a different story because editors also need to boot up the language server in the background, stuff like that. But the other thing is Vim's editing model, how you edit text in Vim, which is called modal editing, where you have like insert mode, edit mode, whatever. Once you get used to it and you grok it and you don't want to miss it, then editing text becomes fun and it's enjoyable. And I just enjoy editing text with Vim. And so when I was using VS Code for Rust, for example, they also have a Vim plugin. But it is, 90% there, and there's still stuff missing. And once you hit that, that uncanny valley barrier where you realize, oh, it's not the real thing. You realize what you're actually missing, which is, block-wise formatting of stuff, macros, scripting macros, saving macros to a file, reloading them again, and stuff like this. So I just enjoy editing text in Vim, basically.
I think, too, I'll just speak for Thorsten since I've talked to him quite a bit, in passing about this already. But, like, if you think about what Thorsten's vision for what he wants to do, like, with his whole programming environment, like, controlling it, programming it, and things like that. VS Code is like pretty good actually as far as IDEs go at that. But like a lot of other IDEs, the plugin like ecosystem or ability to script those things is like monumentally difficult to like recompile your. Like I've used PyCharm before and I like it as an editor, but to like recompile your plugin, you need to compile like all this Java source back into it. It doesn't, when I was doing it, at least doesn't have like hot reloading or other things like that. And it's like if you're messing around with your Vim config and you want to try like, oh, I want to make a new keyboard to paste this as a markdown link, you write some code, it didn't work. Okay, I'll try again. The help is good, those kind of things. I think it fits very much in Thorsten's sort of like overall programming ethos to be doing that. Which is why I think Emacs people are okay. Don't tell anyone I said that,
Hey, how's support for Emacs key bindings in Neovim?
Probably not as good.
The other thing that I just, remembered is that I, as a programmer, grew up with dynamic languages like Python, HTML, Ruby, JavaScript. And there was no benefit to using an IDE, right? I think if I would have started with Java or C#, right, and I would have used an IDE from the beginning with code intelligence and jump to definition and all of that stuff, I would look at, this as sticks and stones, basically, or what I used 10 years ago, But even if you load Ruby files into an IDE, you won't get more out of it than just by using Vim. And then it's smaller and it's faster and you can run your custom commands in your terminal and program them. And, I want to run my test with one keystroke and it should run the tests as I want them with the flags that I want them. I don't want to click in some IntelliJ config settings or something. Yeah. So, yeah.
Let's answer one question from the audience. And it's, what do you do with debugging?
Yeah. Noah said just printing or Delph. The answer is just printing. I'm horrible with I print stuff. Like I'm a puts debugger. And I tried getting into debuggers a bunch of times, but I never got the hang of it. And this morning I was debugging some other thing where the debug output is pages and pages of stuff. And I was using less to go back through it. And I realized this is usually not what you can do or what I can do in a debugger. Go through all of the things step by step, but then also reference it back to what was before. As I understand debuggers, you usually see the current call stack. And I just like putting stuff somewhere, yeah.
There's some really interesting developments in the sort of open protocol world for debuggers right now. There's like a protocol similar to LSP called DAP, Debug Adapter Protocol. It's the protocol that VS Code uses, and Microsoft was nice enough to open source that up again and define a specification. So there are some really interesting, there's Vim Spectre and there's also NVim DAP. Those are the two most popular like Vim based ones, but there's also like an Emacs DAP adapter as well I've seen, so just, not just saying Vim world things, but those are pretty, I think, exciting to think about. One thing that always bothered me about debugging is like every editor and every debugger has like different keybinds for everything and different setup and different jump. They don't even agree on like what like step over means. Like half the time that's like you go until it's something out of the loop, and the other time you're like suddenly in a function in another library and you're like, where did I just go? So there's some interesting things I think happening there, which could be pretty cool around sort of standardization of debuggers and helping people create like a programmable experience there. I don't have a bunch of experience with it, but I've seen that kind of thing out happening, which is pretty cool for people who want to, debug outside of their IDE or have a sort of shared interface between all their debugging experiences.
Cool. I think this is a wrap. We kind of managed to stay on time, right?
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like we could easily go another hour on this.
Oh yeah,
but
we can always go.
Just same time tomorrow, or
TJ, you're next, right?
Time hopefully every 2 weeks. That's the plan.
Well, I'll have to just talk about Telescope a bunch instead of talking about FCF. So Thorsten's still hurting me. Well, I'll get him over there someday.
I would love to see. You have the reverse, right? You do everything in Neovim.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I would love to see that.
Use Vim like it's Emacs, in other words.
Yeah. Well, yes, there's we could talk about Neovim philosophy on why I think it's like good. I actually think like Emacs. So the difference is, in my opinion, that I use Neovim to compose a lot of different tools. Not all the tools are written inside or for Neovim specifically, but I use Neovim to compose a lot of other tools. That's why I like LSP and why I wrote a lot of it for Neovim, is because that allows us to compose a lot of other tools that are really good at like one specific task. Like, I'm really good at understanding Python code. Oh, sure. Well, we can just make that thing work out. Which I think that's so it. I don't feel I've completely abandoned the Vim philosophy. I don't think Bram's gonna come hunt me down in the night and tell me that I'm truly an Emacs user at heart. At least I'm hoping not.
Awesome.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. This has been
Cool.
awesome. We're going to try to pull this off every 2 weeks. That would be awesome. And thanks also to all the guests and those who send us some questions. This is great. Please share your feedback if you have any in the channel. And see you in 2 weeks.
Cool. Bye-bye.